From sunny Southern California, we bring you Meet Bridget, a podcast for building confident communication and female badassery. We spotlight women who have bridged the gaps in their lives by building strong relationships and speaking their teenage dreams into reality. Bring it on, baby!
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
Welcome back to Meet Bridget, Season 5. I'm Asha Gabriel, and I co-host this show alongside my best friend, Kashia Rosenberg. Our show is a giant library of career and life path options for young women to relate to by sharing the honest and unfiltered teenage stories of a diverse array of successful women. We believe that confidence starts with self-trust and that it grows through authentic community. Tapping back into our formative years makes this Meet Bridget community a place where women of all ages and stages can connect on common ground. Today, I am delighted for you to meet Victoria Zindell. Victoria is the founder of Luxury Ventures Travel and a proud mom of 2 beautiful little boys. She is rooted in faith and devoted to ongoing growth in both her personal and professional life. Luxury Ventures Travel is a boutique agency known for its personalized service and thoughtfully curated extraordinary travel experiences. With more than 15 years in the luxury travel industry, Victoria began her career in hotel representation before launching her own agency in 2016. Today, her company is proudly affiliated with Pro Travel International and the Global Travel Collection, and it operates out of a charming storefront in Corona del Mar, California. Guiding how clients spend their most valuable asset, their leisure time, is a responsibility that Victoria approaches with great care. She draws on deep industry experience and a client-first mindset to curate tailored travel experiences designed to become cherished lifelong memories. Her work has earned numerous industry accolades, including a nomination for ASTA, which is the American Society of Travel Advisors, for ASTA's Millennial Advisor of the Year, and as a rising star recognition from Travel and Leisure magazine. So, I mean, she is so impressive. I'm so excited to have Victoria on. We met in a mommy group for our little ones when they were just babies. So I think this is so exciting to have a travel advisor on the podcast. We've never had someone in this role on.
Yay.
So Victoria, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. That was a beautiful introduction. I so appreciate it. And that was when our first kiddos were born. now we each have our 2 babies.
Now we both have doubles, 2 girls and 2 boys.
Yeah.
Well,
everyone says it goes so quick.
You're just one of those women that finds a way to do so much, and it's like our time is, we all have the same amount of time in a day, but especially in a career where, travel is one of those things where it's so personal to every person. Everyone has a different style of travel. They have different needs. They have different desires out of the way they travel. And at the luxury level, all of those things are heightened. Can you give us a little bit of a picture of what it looks like to, say, start with a client for a luxury travel experience and how demanding that is as you plan a trip from the beginning to the end?
Yes. Planning travel is the greatest privilege. It really is about matchmaking and really getting to know a person, all of their quirks, everything that makes them tick, all of their preferences. Something that really intimidated me when I first started was I haven't traveled that much internationally when I first started in the industry. But what I quickly understood, and from talking to others, is that it's really about getting to know the individual, and you get to know their family and the dynamics, and it's like truly building real lifelong rapport with the clients that we work with. So when we first speak with a client, it's getting to hear about any of their past experiences if they're a new client to us, so we can really understand what have their favorite hotels been, what have been the standout experiences. Do they value culture over going to the latest restaurant or whatever it may be. Everybody has things that they value more, accommodations over experiences. So it's putting them through a real detailed sort of consultation that we have. And then we also have them complete some forms just to really understand them in a deeper level. And it's an ongoing conversation and collaboration as we plan. But most of what we do is super customized. We're doing as little or as much as clients have interest in us taking part in their planning. And it's so fun because people love talking about travel, and us getting to do that every day and talk about it with them is just so cool. It's such an honor.
When you realize how important, our jobs, our roles, our families are so important to us, but that leisure time really it's limited, and people want to maximize it. And those are the memories that, I think of some of the best times of my life. So many of those memories are on vacation, so it has this amplified importance in people's lives. So it's really must feel like an honor to be the person that they're trusting with that special time.
That really is the trust that they're putting in us, because that time, just like you said, it's so sacred. We are all so busy. We're always moving. So there is a lot of pressure in that too. But that's why, from experience and relationships and time, that's why it is so fun. There's certainly been some hard lessons learned along the way, but it's incredible. And it's just so cool to see the travel come together and play out. And my favorite part is always in the follow-up, speaking with the clients after they've returned and doing sort of our post-trip review, hearing the highlights, seeing the photos. It's getting to feel like you were there with them in some way, because you've invested so much time and passion into developing an itinerary and curating those details. So it's really fun.
It seems almost like the itinerary and all the planning is almost like writing a movie script, and then you see it come to life, right? They go, the setting is there and everything, all these details, kind of the lights and the this and the travel and the timing. And it's and then you get to watch the movie really and see the pictures and everything. It is such a creative production every time you're putting it together.
I actually hadn't heard that before. I like that. And there's the climax. And just this past, I guess it was about a week and a half ago, there's a group that we have in French Polynesia right now, 40 people. And we've been working on it for about 6 months. And the flights that we had everybody booked on a week and a half ago, they canceled those flights completely. And it's just the sort of ups and downs of right in the process, the things that can happen that are out of our control. We can do our best to plan every detail far in advance, but that's the world, and that's the travel industry.
Right.
Things are always changing and
setting the plans and being able to also pivot, and have the knowledge there can and there will be hiccups, I feel I was just in a runway show after a long time not being in one, but from behind the scenes, there's I realized that I'd kind of forgotten how many things go wrong. Every fashion show, there's always things that go wrong, and I was asking my husband, I was like, oh, did you see this thing? Did you see this? And he's like, no. I'm like, it is such from production, there are just, especially if you're a perfectionist and you have a vision and stuff, it's part of the job in any kind of creative capacity or planning capacity where you're kind of project-based work. It's you set your plans and you get organized, and then it's you have to know that they're, unless it's just the most perfect trip in the world, there are going to be things that are going to cause you to keep your cool, pivot, come up with a plan B, and stay focused on the thing that's important, which is getting there, enjoying the time, being together, the whole reason why you're on the trip in the first place.
Which we're of course used to that. A lot of the clients we're working with still, right? It throws a wrench in your trip, and however the change or whatever it may be that happens can derail things. But having somebody to be there alongside them, I guess, to kind of help manage those changes, and also just to be to listen to them and to be there as if there are any frustrations or things that are out of our control. It's great to be that support. Right. Yeah. It's calling your counselor. Yeah.
You said something so interesting to me, because I just interviewed Courtney Colery, who has done a lot of different types of jobs and things, but she has a lot of experience in home organization. And she mentioned to me because I asked her, I was like, "Oh, are you just like an OCD clean person? Is that why you became a homeowner?" And she's like, "Oh no." She's like, "My life, I live in chaos." She's like, "That's where I thrive." And
Uh-huh.
she's like, "And I like to like bring it." She's like, "I'm actually more focused on other people." She's like, "My passion for this isn't really just that I obsessively like a clean closet that's color coded." She's like, I like to help people who are in the middle of a mess, like feel
Mhm.
relief, you know? And
Mhm.
when you mentioned that, like, when you first started planning travel, it wasn't like, oh, I'm such a well-traveled person that I just have to share what well-traveled is, you know, which a lot
Yeah.
of people might assume that it's like, oh, if I were to be a travel advisor, I'd have to really like have been a lot of places, um, in order to like have
Yeah.
the cred to like tell people you should go to China or you should go here, you like wherever they want to go, even if you've never been there. It's
Yes.
like it's if you're understanding the person, if your intentions are good, if you're really giving good service, it's not so much about the like the thing and having a ton of experience in the thing before you do it, but it's like who is the person you're serving, and that's the centric.
Yeah.
It's so interesting to see that parallel in your two,
Yeah.
explanations of what you do.
Yeah, it really wasn't until I was interested in being an advisor and talked to some other managers and owners and advisors who were, client facing that they shared that with me, because that was certainly a concern of like, who's going to trust me with this, their
Yeah.
time and their finances. But that's what's so great is like in the travel agency world, I think I've learned that being affiliated, which I am now with a larger company, there's so much value that comes in that. So like we have on ground resources like all over the world. And so obviously I'm not even the places I have been, if I haven't been in years, even if I haven't been, like, I don't know every detail about a place. So having those on ground partners in destination that know the latest spots, that have the VIP access into a place, like we refer to them and they help us to shine and look like rock stars. So there's certainly, it's certainly not just myself or our team. There's so many other people that, of course, bring everything to life and help make those memories.
There's such a good point there where it's like, okay, if you don't have that experience, like affiliating yourself with either a mentor or a company, a group of
Mm-hmm.
resources that can then give you answers where you know you're going to have questions. You're like, I haven't been everywhere that this client, maybe the client is way more well traveled than you are already. You know, it can be a
Yeah.
little intimidating. I had felt when I started in real estate some similar emotions where I'm like, I'm starting my real estate career in Orange County, where like most of the people that are buying in this place have like bought and sold several homes already,
Yeah.
you know, and likely have a commercial portfolio, and they're doing like they're very sophisticated, you know, real estate people, you know, and I think that I had
Sure.
to get over that like imposter syndrome where I was like, why would they listen to me? And it's like, well, they'll listen to you because you establish trust with them, you know, and then you also have the humility to say like, you know what, that's actually a question I don't have an answer to, but I've got great resources. Let me get back to you, you know, and like,
Mm-hmm.
I will find it for you because I'm connected to the right things, and knowing that that's a form of experience, is to have that, like, I don't have it, you know, but I'm
Yeah.
dedicated to finding it for you. So let me use my resources.
Yes. And usually after somebody has worked with us on a trip, they come to know that, of course, we're gonna make that happen. And we do have great partnerships and relationships. But I think in the beginning, sometimes a client, when they come to us, a new client, they're very focused typically on a destination they have in mind. And so there still is a little part of me that in that, like, especially with those new prospects or clients, that I'm like, I haven't been there, and I feel confident, but I still could see from their side that might be a little like, well, then why would we be planning that with you? But getting past those initial hurdles, and I think them understanding sort of how we work and how we've been successful, it makes sense. And then once they give us a chance, usually they're back. So.
What would you say are your core personality traits in general, whether they apply to your job or not?
Yeah. Core traits are, I am deeply empathetic, and I think you and I've talked about this, but yeah, like I'm a highly sensitive person. So I just feel very in tune, like with the energy around me and into a person's emotions, and I can pick up on little things. And so I think that's a big one for me. I tend to be I'm super detail oriented, organized, just like your interview from yesterday. I am like just I am not diagnosed OCD, but I probably am OCD, at least have tendencies. And so I think those things with planning, as I saw in my career prior to this, that those things would really help me in career here.
Totally.
So.
Well, and it sounds like you, so people always ask, like, what are the qualifiers for someone to be on the podcast? And Kashia and I, I mean, it's not like we're not running people through like a survey or something, but it's a sense of the women that we know. It's usually through a referral or, a personal relationship with that person, that person is in their lane. That's kind of like our biggest qualifier for success. We really believe that when someone matches who they are and they're like they have the self-awareness to know, like, who they are, and they have found a career path that takes those things and it's served by them, right? That it's the right match for what they're doing. And they're kind of in that like flow state when they're working.
Yeah.
I could totally see how like all of those things, like for a travel planner, it's like you can't miss. I mean, you get one number wrong when you're writing down an itinerary, and that's a flight number. You're putting someone on the wrong flight. Like you have to have that like attention to detail, but also seeing like the forest through the trees, and having that like empathy and emotional connection, that you're not just this like number cruncher and like OCD details person. You're like, oh, but like the whole reason for this is like the feeling, that I want this person to have. And I can see like how important this vacation is for them. That combination makes this role like a really good fit for you.
Yeah. Speaking of numbers, I will never forget when I first started my first year, I made a mistake on somebody's visas when they were going to Africa, and it literally delayed their trip to Africa. And I remember just feeling like devastated. I had impacted their trip, the timing. I just felt so sick about it. Anyways, it was a very good lesson. You learn from different mistakes and
that's how we learn.
Triple checking. Yeah.
And I think we all have that. I mean, to have a career like where you're, we all have that in any job. If you're in it for a long enough time, like there are some critical learning lessons, and they're usually through a mistake. Like that is like the biggest source of learning for all of us. I mean, I've even within the podcast, like I had a situation where I think like, I think I forgot to hit record on one, or it like, I didn't charge my laptop enough. So it cut out in the middle of the episode, and, thankfully it saved the file, but it was like, in my mind, I was like, I will never do that again, but I know, like I have my setup, boom, 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 and I know I won't do that again. It's like, we just learn through those mistakes.
Yep. There's no better way. You just hope the mistakes aren't too big.
Right? You're like,
so I'm so grateful.
Yeah. If you were to hire someone to either work for you or to take your place at some point, what are the qualities that you would look for in somebody to be basically doing your job or helping you do your job?
Yeah. I do think attention to detail with what we do is most important. That's something that anyone who's an advisor, like that's a key quality and skill that you have to have. And truly the other thing is probably, just having like real compassion for client and like genuinely, authentically caring for them. It's just something that is so meaningful and so personal. So that is necessary. A passion for travel is always great. That's right. You want to feel that in what we do. And those are probably the key things. But just strongly motivated, able to take the ball and run with it. And also being able to really manage conflict and with any profession or any industry. Like those are the opportunities, again, that you have an opportunity to shine when things do go wrong. And sometimes that, can strengthen the relationship.
Absolutely.
Even more, so.
I mean, what builds trust more than like having a difficult situation and then having a person be with you through that and like help carry you through that?
Yes.
Or, where it's like those are the things really that you build trust through your reputation and your kindness and showing up in consistency and all of those things. But I think like a very quick way to build trust is sometimes in those situations business you don't really want to be in. What do
Yeah.
you think,
I
like,
think COVID was like
yeah,
such a great
totally.
for showing that just like the way that the travel industry works is typically like with compensation, you're not compensated until after clients travel. And like our typical booking window for travel used to be like a year to year and a half out. And so when COVID came, even clients that had insurance wasn't covering for that pandemic for COVID. So we've lost, like the year and a half, with having to get everything canceled. And then obviously after that, not being able to travel. But we spent so much time fighting for our clients to get them their money back, to go anything we could, any little loophole. But here, yeah, of course, we're going to do what's right for them. But spending so much time where we're, not receiving anything financially, but those are the clients, right? They're so grateful that you worked your tail off for them. And those are the ones that are, yeah, they're sticking with you. They
And they're
saw
more
how
likely
much
to
we
give
did
you
for
like
them.
referrals and repeat business too, right? When it's like,
Yes, that is.
I think there's a lot of like parallels between your industry and real estate where it's like,
Yeah.
you're not making money off the deal. You're making money off that relationship, in the long run. Like if
100%.
you're really thinking about where is your business is in the relationship, not the house or the trip that you planned.
Mm-hmm.
But that relationship and how it grows and their repeat business and how they talk to their community about you and refer you.
Yeah, definitely big picture. And I think the other similarity too with real estate, and this is a lot of industries now, but is the timing and availability. Like, right, you can get a call and you got to move or you have to take action, right? In real
How do
estate,
you
and same
manage
thing
that?
for us.
How do you manage
That's
that with having two kids? And because I feel like it is a very much on call industry, like either if you're not available, you're potentially missing the business, or letting someone down. How do
yes.
you manage that with the
Um,
crazy schedule of being a mom of little kids?
Yes. Right now, having the right team in place who are very committed and on board and dedicated to our clients. Fortunately, I'm so grateful with finding the right people. I have not been nearly as on call as I used to be, but I will say the first years, like it really hit me hard, and I really didn't realize what I was getting into, because of course with the different time zones and clients traveling all over the world,
Yes,
it was literally round the clock all of the time. I felt very tired early on, and I knew something needed to change. So much of it like was setting boundaries. Like I didn't set boundaries. I didn't advise that unless it's an emergency. We had funny things like where clients would contact us about the hours of a restaurant when they're at the hotel, and they're in Italy, and it's just
you literally just look at the brochure that's right next to your telephone. It's right there.
Yes, I know.
I'll look it up for you. Let me step away from my dinner with my husband.
So those sorts of things, right? Not an emergency. You need to contact yourself. So we needed to take the initiative to put in like our travel documents, be very specific about what those emergencies are. And then again, having these like on ground partners that we work with, just making it very clear that they are to contact them for 24/7 support. And, I found early on too that, we present these like beautiful documents that we present through this travel app, but everyone's so busy. So they weren't reading them. So whenever we didn't get a chance to do a consult before, now we really require that we consult and go through these together. And so talk through those items just so it is clear. And if there's any questions on sort of who to call for what, because that's so important. So I think done a much better job managing it, and now having the right team has just made a world of difference. And I'm so grateful.
That is such a smart, but those are all things you probably learn through doing. It's like, okay, I got to draw this boundary. I got to do this thing. If I'm going to give them a document, let's have a call so we go over it ahead of time. I think I was asking you about a trip that my family took to Savannah and Charleston a couple years ago. And I had just kind of, I put it together, and I made this beautiful, I'm a Google Doc person, like a Google Doc, a spreadsheet, I love it. So I made this beautiful Google Doc to send to my whole family, which is big now. I'm like, if we're going to be going to restaurants and stuff, somebody has to sit down and make the reservations. You can't walk in with 3 toddlers and it's just, it's not going to happen. And I sent it. And then I found while we were on the trip, we'd wake up and my family would be like, where are we going next? And I'm like, you didn't look at your Google Doc? I was so mad. I was like, what? I put all this time in. And I was like, you know what? Now I know if I'm ever going to try to plan my own travel, which these days I probably just shouldn't even be doing. I'm going to call Victoria. That it's like, okay, let's have a call. It's like, did you look at it? Let's go over it before we're on the trip. I was so, my sister was like, why are you so, like, we're here on vacation. Why are you so like worked up? And I'm like, I can't even.
I love my husband, but that is something that just on our last trip, he'll ask when we're there, and I even have documents put together for ours, and I always have to like tease him, like, look at our document.
Right? I'm like, you can read, right? Can you read? I married you, and I yeah. I know, it's just, but I feel like you and I connected so easily because I feel like we have a lot in common in terms of like our teen years and kind of perfectionist qualities and people pleasing tendencies and stuff. That it's just so fun to connect with you and learn more about what you're doing now, where I feel like we had a lot in common as we were young. So I'd love to kind of dive back. Before you knew you were going to be in travel, where did you, when you were younger and you were thinking about your career, where did you think you were going to end up?
I honestly had no idea. I knew I wanted to be with people. I knew I should backtrack. Just recently, I actually went back to something I had written in high school. I found this like report in a psychology class I took, and I did all of these like psychology tests to kind of help determine like long-term like career path. And a lot of the results were like working to help people, being a counselor, would be good at sales. So I knew whatever I wanted to do, that I find a lot of energy in being with people, and I love like helping people, and I love like the attention to detail, anything that would kind of include working closely with them and helping them in some way. But I had no idea. So really it was in college, I thought I really wanted to get into advertising. And then I had a brother who was sort of in like the media industry. So I started there, and it was through there that the Arizona Biltmore Hotel, Waldorf Astoria, was a client of mine. And that kind of got me introduced into the space of hospitality in that capacity. And I had always had an interest in tourism too. But I really didn't know. I wish I could say that I had like a clear vision. When I was very young, I wanted to be a veterinarian, but then after having to put our dog down, I realized I could not do that. So like I had too much, my heart would be, I don't think I would be able to separate the work, and I think I would bring it home each day. So
I had that like I think for the longest time, I was like, I loved babies. I was always like the little kid that was like taking care of the babies at all the family. And I was like, I'm going to be a pediatrician. Like my parents are doctors. Like I should probably be a doctor because they'll be happy with that. I'm like, if I'm going to be a doctor, I want to be a baby doctor. And I remember we were dissecting little pigs in, I think it was like 7th grade biology. And I had like an actual panic attack because like they put it in front of me and its little tongue was hanging out. And I couldn't even speak. My teacher took me outside and he was like, you don't have to do the dissection. You can just write the report. And I'm like, thank you for that. But also like the reason I'm like crying is because this is like my whole idea of what my life was going to be. I'm realizing I cannot do it. Like I got to think because I'm so emotional in that way that I feel like I would be a wreck. Like I would not be well. And
it takes very special people to be in those positions, right?
The amount of
doctors, all the different things. Yes, same. 100%.
I think it's so great that you did that assessment though, to kind of have, rather than just picking something, because of an interest, but really being able to take one of those assessments that it's like, okay, careers in working with people, maybe sales, maybe this, maybe that. And that was kind of like a wide net, because I think that's so powerful for a young person to have, rather than being like, am I right for this job? Mm-hmm. Looking at like, who am I? And then what careers are right for me, mm-hmm. and for most people, we find success like once you kind of like weed out different things, and then like life takes you into a path, and like you didn't know you were going to be in travel before, and life kind of like left you on this beautiful little path this way, and you are here now, and you're successful because you have spent time refining in that career. But for most people, there's several careers that you could be very good at, and it's like finding one that's like makes you happy and checks your boxes. But realizing it's like, it's not just about that one thing. It's like, if you understand your skills and traits, they're transferable to so many different situations, and then you can choose.
Yes. That's such a great gift. I would love organizing like
There you
too
go.
and
Like,
doing
I can
that.
totally see you doing that.
I actually in high school that was something I did for my friends. I would color code their closets and redo their sets. I just love organizing. So organizing travel and getting to see all the pieces come together is very rewarding for me.
Well, it's so interesting because it's like that's definitely a different person. Like for a lot of people, like that is terrifying, where it's like it can be so intimidating to plan travel, and sometimes it keeps people from traveling at all because it's like, like the time and the hotel and the booking the flights and like how you just all of the different things that have to come together for a trip to happen, like can be such an obstacle for people that you're stepping in and solving.
Yeah. I think it's great. I think our generation, or I shouldn't say I know our generation is traveling so much more, right, than like our parents did. And with flights being so accessible, I know that the flight experience is certainly not what it was back in the like olden days.
Yeah.
But I love that, that we're getting out there more. And I think just through seeing my parents and other friends' parents that, right, they waited and maybe they didn't have their health then and they weren't able to go and experience and do the things on their travels. Like if they would have had the opportunity or done that when they're young. So I encourage anyone, take the trip sooner rather than later. Like I promise you will not regret it.
Oh, wonderful. Well, you've mentioned a little bit about your college experience. Are there any like where did you go to college? What was that like for you? Were there any like impactful moments from that time that jumped to mind for you?
So I went to Arizona State and I grew up in Chicago and so moved to Arizona for schooling. And fortunately, high school helped prepare me for college because my high school was like the size of a college. It was a huge campus, but loved ASU. I definitely had a lot of fun at school. I did probably have a little too much fun in college, but the one thing I was always very diligent about, and I guess just to pick myself up a bit, because I feel like freshman year I did have a lot of fun. I always still made it to class and was so dedicated to showing up and doing the work. And in school, I feel like I've always had to work a little harder, naturally, like comparing myself to my siblings. And so in college, like I still was very dedicated to making sure to get my work done and still had in the books, but enjoying the time outside of that.
Really?
In terms of like lessons, and I was really grateful. Like my parents ended up moving to Arizona and my family was nearby too. So I was independent, but I also had like that comfort of having them nearby. But I think ultimately, growing up and being the youngest, that I was babied a little bit. And so I still like the natural progression in going off to college. Like I definitely did come into my own then and learned a lot about myself and certainly had greater like self-awareness through that experience.
There's like a connection. I feel like a lot of Chicago people go to Arizona. Like I think like the Cubs do like spring training in Arizona and stuff too. But there's a term, is it snowbirds or something like that? Where after being in the cold Chicago for so long, they're just like, I just give me heat, dry summer, intense heat. And I feel like a lot of people move. It's so nice that your parents, ended up coming with you over there. Were your siblings in the same area also?
My two older siblings had already moved to Arizona, and then my brother was moving there around the same time too. So we were just waiting for me to graduate high school, and I think they were hoping I would choose an Arizona school. Perfect. So I was so set on going to like Iowa or somewhere in the Midwest. And then once I made it to Arizona State, I'm like, wow, palm trees, there's a pool on campus. The school is like, it's I don't know if it's still the largest. Yeah, it's a beautiful campus. But I did make a lot of great friends and connections there. It was wonderful.
It is so beautiful. So my sister went to ASU on scholarship. She had received like either a full ride or like an extremely generous scholarship there. And we had never heard of the school before. Like my family was
Oh,
very much like, oh, she's
wow.
going to go to a UC like Berkeley or something.
Yeah.
But they're like, but she's getting such a good scholarship. Let's go look at it. And I remember the whole family got in the car and we went down, and we were looking around like, this place is amazing. Beautiful. And the facilities are so amazing. And like her graduation, Barack Obama gave the address for like her graduation.
Really?
It's that big of a school, but like that's your guess.
Yes.
At the time that she graduated, it was like I think he was about to be elected or something. It was just like a huge school, and so fun. And
Let's meet you.
she had a similar
experience.
She's like, similarly to you, she's like very successful, extremely smart, but like she would probably say too, she's like, oh, ASU, yeah, like I had a lot of fun. We grew up like very, we were very good kids. Like we went out and did high school things and stuff, but like we were all like straight A students and, moral compass kids.
Yes.
But I feel like both of us had that experience like when we started college where it was like, oh wow, freedom.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, I definitely had a stricter upbringing compared to like friends of mine. So yeah, I definitely enjoyed the freedom.
Where do you think you made your friends in college? Like what was like the
I was in a sorority, and so I made some great friends there. My best friend today was from that experience. And then, really just through the dorms, my like suite mate, I hit the jackpot, and she's one of my best friends today. Everyone thought we were sisters, but she still jokes today, like when you get one another's numbers and, you're like paired up in college, like I called her and I was so excited. And she's like, you sounded like such a cheerleader. Cause I was like, we're going to be suite mates and I'm so excited to meet you. And like asking her life story. And she thought I was such a hoot. But anyway, she's like a little more of an introvert. But I feel so lucky that, I had a great suite mate. Roommate was a crazy story. I'll tell you at another time, but very entertaining.
Oh my gosh. Well, I feel like those are powerful. I've also had a couple like crazy roommate stories that were after college. But you really realize like, wow, people live in a lot of different ways.
Yes. But it's good, right? It opened up my eyes from my little bubble and seeing so much more.
It's all those little things we learn in college when we're just kind of on our own, where it's like you're not really quantifying like how much is going in, or it's like, okay, like even the micro things of like, okay, how do I get my laundry done? Like, how do I get clean clothes? Like, what am I eating? And like, what are the times of that? Like, how much time do I need to spend sleeping or studying and all this stuff? Like, those are all pretty big independence learnings that like people also learn when they're not in the college setting, but it's like that time of life that's so fun to like be getting your feet under you and relying on yourself.
So fun. Yes.
What about high school for you? Did you enjoy high school? Did you feel like it was your place? What were you like as a high schooler?
Yes, I loved high school. I always had like a close core group of friends, but I always had lots of other friends that I would say I was close with too. So I really identified like with lots of different types of people, whether it was sports. So I did like volleyball and softball. And I actually sophomore year did not make the volleyball team. And that was like the first time I really remember being like, wow, like it was the first time I really hadn't made anything like a team before. And I felt like as everyone else sort of like their skills were getting better, like mine just kind of plateaued. And I don't know why that was. So I took that opportunity and ended up doing cross country instead, just to like stay in shape and run. And I didn't love it, but I stuck with it. And then I also was like basketball manager. One funny thing with cross country is I had a few friends that were in it too. And I would always run in the back, like run with them. And they would typically be in the back. And one day, like coach said to me, he's like, hey, I don't think like, I know you can do more and you could probably place if you give it your all and to live to like your potential. And he asked that I, do less socializing and actually give it my best.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah. And he was right. Yeah. So I ended up like placing in the races and doing really well, but it was just so funny because I was like, I was like, I was just enjoying hanging in the back and spending time with Amanda and Lamisha.
So good. That's where I was like back in the day. Like we're just leisurely, like let's just jog
Yeah.
here, you know?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I
So
love going to the sporting games. Like dated like our high school quarterback early on. So went up to all the football games, and I was a little burnt out already by football, though. Just both my brothers playing football, like sports was such a huge thing in our family. And so I enjoyed it growing up, but it was like so much, like always going to games, baseball, football. It was like we talked about so often. So I kind of took like a little reprieve after high school of like less
you're good on
in
that.
the sports arena. Yeah.
Break from all the sports, which is funny because like college is such ASU is such like a sports college. In
I
a lot
know.
of ways.
I know.
So great. Were there anything in high school that you felt were like difficult for you, or that you were self-conscious about? Like, what was your like inner world like in high school?
Yeah. Very like social, but one thing I've always been challenged by from the time I was young is like group settings, public speaking, talking in front of groups. Like I'm always good, like one-on-one and small groups, but anytime like I had to get up and give a presentation, like my nerves would just be like, it was so hard for me to talk even sometimes, but then I would feel totally cool and like just sitting down and talking to a few people. It's something I've always had a hard time with. So that probably in like school is something that challenged me. I also like had a hard time like reading for an extended period. I tend to be like a busybody and like to be on the go. And so, I did more than a few times get in trouble for talking in class. I liked to chat, and I guess back in like middle school and earlier years, I was just thinking like we used to always pass the notes then, which I love. Now, obviously kids like use their phones, but it was so fun writing one of their notes and passing them in class. But I've always in school, like loved the social aspect. Again, had to probably work a little bit harder in school, which I feel like it just came like more naturally, especially to my older siblings. But I still enjoy it. Like I love learning, and I have always like enjoyed learning about new subjects, and I always loved science class, and I always seem to really like have great connections with my teachers. So even today, I still am in touch with quite a few teachers, and one of my teachers who's also a softball coach, like I even got together with him. We did, my husband and I, like years ago when he came into town. So, so I have some great relationships, but I really just enjoyed like the high school experience. I thought it was really good. When I did first start high school, though, I had not gone through puberty yet. I was like the very last of my friends. And so freshman year, I looked like a child when I started school. And it was certainly a time of development mentally and physically. But yeah, I was just a late bloomer, probably, in both ways.
I can relate to that. I think I was maybe like at very end of 8th grade. I remember I got my braces on, also way after everybody had braces already. Got my braces on, and my period started the next day.
Oh my goodness!
Just being
like boom,
uncomfortable, like outside emotionally, like we are just in a place of discomfort. And I just felt like I was so late to the game, but I'm like looking back, I'm like, what a blessing. Like we're good. Like we don't need any of that stuff yet. It's hard.
Yes. Gosh, that is a lot at once.
I know. And I feel like with my parents, like I have such an amazing relationship with my parents. But when we were younger, like conversations about the tricky stuff were on a like as needed basis. Like we wouldn't have them proactively, where I feel like a lot of the parenting stuff right now is like, get ahead of it. Like create I saw this thing about like creating like a period pack for your daughter starting at like the age of like 8 almost, and having it in her backpack where it's like, you just never know when it's going to come, and talking to her about it. This is what it is. If your friend has theirs, you can give one to them. And just getting ahead of things. The way I grew up was just not that way. I think everything was sort of like, okay, this is happening. Like, do we have to address it? And it was always like, so I feel like a lot of those experiences of puberty, of like, when am I going to get boobs and a bra and like all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it was always like after the fact, where I was like already desperate for one by the time I like worked up my like self to like go to my mom and be like, can I please buy a bra? But that was just kind of like the way we were raised. I'm like, there's so much privately that we go through, at that age. I
It's
read
such
this.
changing time. That's funny.
Yeah.
You just made me think of something I haven't thought about in a million years. I remember I was so nervous to ask like my mom about shaving my legs. Like other girls had started shaving their legs, and I was nervous to ask her. I have no idea why, but like I borrowed a friend's razor to shave my legs because I was embarrassed in gym class, and in I guess it was probably 6th grade. I don't know when girls start shaving their legs now, but I remember being so embarrassed. So anyways, just like those little things. Like,
and it's like how all the like, these are big things, and it's like, of course, if you're like, if my daughters were to come to me and be like, Mommy, like, I'm uncomfortable with my leg hair. Can we do something? I'd be like, yeah, like, let's talk about it, and which my mom probably would have been that way too. But I think I stole her razor, and I dry shaved my legs. And then I remember the next day, I was like, I was like so uncomfortable. They were burning. And I'm like, there were just so many different moments like that I just like, I kind of ventured out and did it myself. And then and then I had to come back to my mom and like ask for wisdom. The first time I put in a tampon, I didn't know you put the applicator inside. I tried to like just rocketed it up there. It was like half in me the whole time. I mean, we are candid here, but like,
oh man,
there's so many just uncomfortable little new things that we go through at that time. And I think it informs how we approach things later, or even as mothers, like how we kind of want to adjust things in the way that our kids are parented. Not that any one way is right or wrong,
and we didn't have obviously social media, like all of all the stuff to the resources.
And it's just even harder. So imagine like going through those thoughts and stuff while you're like watching all these girls on the internet or boys on the internet that seem to have like everything figured out at your age, or like are looking much more mature than you, or feeling much mature and making assumptions. It's just, there's so much left to like individual interpretation and private interpretation of a developing mind. So that's like, I mean, so much of our mission is just like, no, let's like talk about the stuff that we all experience. I mean, it looks different, but it's like the feelings are the same in every generation. We've had older people, younger people on, like the feeling is the same, and it's pretty exciting. Like it's exciting stuff, but it can feel very isolating.
Yes, no one is alone. We have, again, everyone experiences differently, but as women, we all know we've been through those things too. It can be messy.
You talked about your siblings. Can you go through your different siblings, like how gender and age differences, and how you kind of think that structure has affected you?
Sure. Yes, I'm the youngest of 4 kids. I have a brother, Steve, who's 4 years older than me. And then my brother Scott, 10 years older, and Cindy is 16 years older. Wow. Same parents. Our parents spread us out. So it is funny to think now, just that like when I was born, my sister was going to be going off to college not too long after. Wow. But my brother Steve and I have always been very close. It's almost like, it almost seems like Steve and I were sort of raised in a different generation or time than my older 2 siblings, just with certain ways they grew up. Maybe I think the values remain the same, but like the culture and the world surrounding us is different. And so I think my older 2 siblings kind of think Steve and I don't want to say the word spoiled, because I wouldn't say we were spoiled, but that we were maybe babied a bit more, and maybe like our parents were a little more lenient with us. But have a great relationship with all of them. Scott and Cindy went to like a private Christian school, and Steve and I went to this huge high school, and this was in Chicago, outside of Chicago. But my sister, it always really seemed like she was more of a mom, because she, to me, almost like a parental relationship, just because of the age gap, and then her going off to school. And then after school, she got married and like moved to Arizona. So we never were really in the same household much. So I really didn't spend time with her, more regularly until my adult years, until I lived in Arizona. And then Scott would come back from college and visit, and he's always been like a role model, and I've really looked up to him. He's just like the most kind, easygoing, like what you see is what you get. Just a very even keel. And Steve and I were both like, I guess a little bit more maybe social, like more in activities and spending time with friends, and maybe struggled a little bit more in school, the two of us. But I shouldn't say struggle, but it didn't maybe come as easy for us.
Your attention was on other things too. I feel like youngest siblings, like
Yeah.
all those social skills come a little bit more naturally because you're like absorbing the experiences of your older siblings in a
Yeah.
way. I mean, it's like so socially you're like just inherently a little bit more comfortable, at least in some respects, and making friends or doing activities or knowing what like, okay, this is what sports look like, and I'm going to pop right in. And that's how like I've seen it done already, and I'm going to pop right in and do it, you
Yeah.
know. But then like that comes at that energy is coming out of something else. So I totally relate to you. I think that a lot of people, I did very well in school, but a lot of people might not know that it's like, I actually feel like I worked like twice as hard as most of my peers. And it's like, not because I wanted to, it's because I had to in order to do that well. Like if I didn't study for the test, I was not going to do well on it. You know,
Yeah.
like where I had friends that just roll in and they're like, and they crush it, you know? And I'm like, wow, look, that is amazing and not my experience.
But it made you stronger, right? You can appreciate it later.
Well, but this is my
That's with
formula.
everything.
So like, it's not so much about like what is the right way to do this. It's like know yourself, and it's like okay, this is what I need to do to adapt and do well in this setting. So like whatever everyone else is doing doesn't really matter that much.
Yeah, but it's easy to compare, but we know comparison is like the fiefdom of
Totally of joy.
Right? Yes. Yes.
What about your parents when you were young? Were they working? If so, what were their roles? What was their parenting style with you?
Yeah. My dad was a lawyer. He worked downtown, which was like an hour from us, the suburb we lived in. And so he'd be gone very long days. He worked it was like the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals. He worked at downtown, and he would drive there each day. He would leave between like 4 and 5 in the morning, depending on, he was there for like 42 years, I think it was, before he retired. And then he would come home usually like around 7 p.m. and we would always wait for him to eat dinner, which was awesome that we still made that a priority to have that tradition. So he was working, but made great priority to like be at our games on the weekend and was very involved. And then my mom took care of us 4 kids. She would introduce herself and say she was a domestic engineer. It was like the title she would use.
Accurate.
And yes.
Accurate.
And just again, when I was looking at something I came across the other week from high school, there was something I had written like freshman year, and it said like, what does your mom do? And I wrote, she does not work. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like as a parent now of only 2 little kids, I haven't even gone through like the teen years or any of that yet. Like I wish I would have written that differently. I wish I would have used her term, because she raised 4 kids, and I'm like, I only have 2, and 4 kids just seems, that's like, I'm in awe of mothers, parents. I'm like, yeah, right. It's once you become a parent, like you just have a whole new appreciation. So she absolutely worked, worked very hard.
It's one of those understandings. Like I think so many women can reflect on their own mothers. You know, once you become a mom, it just completely like, I feel like my understanding of my mom was just eclipsed when I became a mom. I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, like where I always thought I was very close to my mom. I'm like, but the understanding, the appreciation, the connection, I feel like when I became a mom, it just evolved so beautifully.
A whole new level. Yes, it's so true. But yeah, we're super, super like traditional. I'll say like old fashioned, like mom had dinner ready. Like she handled a lot of stuff at the house. One thing I loved is we also like church was always a priority every Sunday. That was like just a great tradition that we'd go to church, and we would always go to brunch after, and like we'd always play like little games like Hangman, and it's just like those are some of the fond memories. Like I just remember loving that time together, and that was something like I looked forward to each week. Oh, I shouldn't say I always looked forward to the church part, because I didn't like sitting quiet for that long, but my brother and I would nudge one another and fun. But yeah, we were always like super involved in activities and sports, but I don't think like overly involved. And yeah, we grew up in just an awesome neighborhood and community. It was like a smaller town. a northwest suburb in Illinois, and like all the backyards, right, like came together. So like all the kids would just be out there and playing even at night, Ghost in the Graveyard, all sorts of like fun games. And even like having snow in Chicago, we'd ride the snowmobiles like through our backyard. It was just like cool having other kids nearby. And it was just like back before the time, like now I feel like you have to like schedule like a play date or like a meetup, and you don't just show up at someone's door. Yeah, exactly.
The moms are just still engineering.
There's a lot of planning.
There's more on the plate and safety and all the things. I'm like, the moms are just doing more and more and more. Like,
yes.
So, I mean, it sounds like such a like, wholesome childhood, and
yes, wholesome's a good
to like,
yeah, very like positive. Yeah, and we always had like chores, and one funny thing is that one of my chores, because we had a big yard, we were fortunate, it was a nursery before we had lived there, so lots of trees. So like one of the jobs was always like picking up sticks and then like pulling weeds, and that was my job one week. And my dad did not mean to do this, but he meant to like get the weed puller tool near me. The weed puller hit me in the head and I had to get stitches. But he never had me do yard work after that again. And at that age, yeah, he felt terrible. He still to this day feels terrible. Right. But like he had no idea. He did not mean for it.
Parent, yeah. You're like, oh my gosh, like if I were to be in that situation with one of my kids, like I would just beat myself up with it for the rest of my life, you know?
Yes. And it was like right above my eye. It could have been so bad. But at the time I was like, I didn't love yard work, but that's like sounds so terrible. Now I love sitting out and doing yard work because I'm just so happy being outside. But
if you could say anything to your younger self that might reassure or inform you of anything that you like questioned in that time, what would you say, if anything at all?
I would probably use more like positive affirmations because I am like a people pleaser and I guess perfectionist. Again, like getting up and talking in front of people, like just worrying so much about what other people think. And it's not like that's gone away. That still is part of me. And that's still something like I'm always going to be working through. Just to like, just to still be like your authentic self. Like there's no reason to put on anything else. Like you're going to be loved for who you are. And if it's not the right people or if there, you know, maybe other reasons, maybe those people have hurts or things that they're carrying that maybe they treat you the wrong way. But you can only like, you know, carry in your heart integrity and dignity and like just lift yourself up. Like nobody else should be able to do that for you. But
beautiful. Well, like embracing the person you are.
Yeah.
You say. I feel like you sort of answered we always kind of wrap up with the same question that I'm still working on the phrasing for. For 5 seasons, but we'll get there.
You're going to get it.
You know, we all have things that we like love about our younger selves. But then maybe when we were in that stage, we had things that you maybe like didn't appreciate about yourself, or you thought were different, or you didn't, you know, you were worried about. What was a quality that you had back then that you maybe didn't like at the time that you love when you look back at yourself now?
It's actually probably something that I've talked to you about, which really it hasn't been until like the last probably couple of years that I've embraced it more, is like just my like emotional intelligence, or sort of like how deeply I feel. I remember in school just feeling like sometimes things I would just, it would really like stick with me, and even like seeing a sad commercial I would cry. But like it is such a beautiful gift too, because that emotional intelligence allows you to connect with other people, to feel, to create deep connections. So I'm really grateful for that now. And I know like friends always say to me, like, you have such a gift. Like you make us feel so special. Like you make us feel like we are like the most near and dear person to you, and like no one else matters. And a lot of times in conversations, I tend to like end up asking a lot of questions and listening rather than talking. And so they have to be like, no, Tori, we want to hear more about you. So I am really appreciative of that now. Like I realize I wouldn't have the relationships I do if it weren't for that.
It's such a great answer. I think from the moment I met you, I just could tell you have like a very open heart. And what that looks like is deeply feeling things, and caring, just caring a lot, which I think is such a gift. Like people, go through periods of life where they're like, I just can't care, and they're so disconnected from their heart that it's like they can't feel something, and to have the gift of feeling so deeply and seeing significance and value in the people around you is really such a strength. So I so appreciate you, Victoria. I think you are so just talented and lovely, and it's been an honor to have you on the podcast. So thank you for being here.
And that's our show. If you liked what you heard today, please like, subscribe to, follow, and share Meet Bridget with your circle. The best way to help our work here is to rate and review our podcast. We're listening and constantly working to build something helpful for you. Catch you next time.